You don't suffer from a lack of talent. You know that. You don't suffer from a lack of intelligence. You're smart enough. You don't suffer from not having the raw capabilities that you need to figure out what you need to do to get your life in better order. It has nothing to do with any of those items, but in your mind, you have this conversation. You're like, if I could just get my shit together, if I could just get things to click the right way, if I could just find the right way to make the puzzle pieces fit, then I can make some changes in my life, right? And that's probably what bothers you a little bit, is the fact that in certain areas of your life, you know that you have what it takes to improve, but it's just hard to, get your shit together in these different areas. So there's different contexts for different people, but today in this video, I'm going to talk about how to get your shit together, how to get the puzzle pieces fitting a little bit better so you can start doing more of the things that you want in your life. But before we get to that, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. That notification bell is very important because it helps you get new videos. If you're on any other platform like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, use the tools on the platform to share with your friends and all that good stuff. So now let's get to the tips. For me, the number one thing that has always helped me when I found my life in kind of disarray, in chaos, in areas that looked a little bit broken that needed to be fixed, the number one thing I would always do is future extrapolation. So I would think about what the future would look like if I continued to do things the way that I'm doing them right now. And I would really think about those deeply and try to come to grips with whether or not I really wanted my life to look like that, right? So, speaking of chaotic and out of order, it's been like 6-7 years ago since I started focusing on self-improvement and fixing my own life. And at the time, I've told the story many times before, I was working a job I hated, I was depressed, I was out of shape, I was doing all sorts of bad habits, getting in trouble with the law. Like nothing was really going well, right? And I still had intelligence, I still had potential. And I really thought, and I'm just like, man, do you want to wake up at 30 years old, at 40 years old, with nothing to show for all the talent that you have? Do you want to wake up at that age and look at all that time as just being wasted? And do you want to have times in your life in the future where you're just going to look back with a deep regret? And I would play that movie over and over and over in my head until it actually stuck. So it wasn't like the first time where I played that movie of the future, I actually changed something, but it took a lot of repetition to the point where I just said, you know what, like I'm really done, right? So whatever it is, whatever areas in your life that you want to get your shit together, that you want to fix things, you have to think about what it's going to look like in the future if you don't get those things handled. What is it going to look like if you don't get something handled career-wise? What is it going to look like if you don't get something handled with your health? That's a really, really, really big one where, your health is actually a life or death matter. And a lot of people wait too long before they get that in order and they run into lots of complications. What are your relationships going to look like in the future if you don't get them in order? What is your overall life going to look like if you don't do whatever version of getting your shit together? What's going to happen if you don't do that in whatever context it means to you? Look at what it's going to be like in the future and decide whether or not you want to continue to live like that. And this might take a couple of times, a lot of repetition for you to get there, but you can get to a point like me. I got to a point where I literally was like, no, this is not happening. And after years and years and years of being lazy, of procrastinating, of doing the wrong things, there became a day one where I started to change my life, and that is something that you can do too. The next thing that you need to do if you want to start getting your life in order and changing things is, after you've done that future extrapolation where you're like, all right, I'm finally ready this time, I don't want to end up like this in the future, you have to stop digging. You have to stop digging immediately, right? So people have this, there's this tendency for inertia to build up, right? And by inertia, I mean, you're going to continue to stay stuck in the same pattern, same paradigms, because you've already been in them for so long, right? So, if you're out of shape and you're overweight, what's another cookie or cheeseburger going to do to hurt you, right? If you're lazy and procrastinating a lot, what's another hour of Netflix going to do to you, right? If you're, hooked on different substances, what's another drink going to do for you, right? If you don't have your life in order, what's another day of letting things out of, stay in disarray going to do to you, right? People have that thing where, they think that, they can continue to indulge, and then, it's kind of that myth that, oh, this is going to be the last time. This is going to be the last time. Like, no, there has to be a point where you stop digging. And people have a tendency to want to continue digging deeper and deeper holes, because at least the hole makes sense to you, right? At least when your life is out of order, at least when it's chaotic, it makes sense to you, and you've kind of formed an identity around whatever area of your life is kind of spinning out of control. And you have this weird kind of masochistic need to continue ruining things worse than they already are, because at least you can find some solace in being a loser. You can kind of get into this comfortable cocoon of living below your potential and living out of order. It can feel oddly good. It's like a protection. It's a protection mechanism against the world. It's a protection mechanism against facing the feedback from the real world that you will experience when you try to change. It's a protection mechanism of confronting your own self and your own nature and what you're really capable of. It's something that you use to kind of feel oddly good about yourself with this self-pity. And if you ever want to have a chance to really get your shit together and change your life, you have to let that go. You have to stop digging. There has to be a day where you decide that you're going to pivot and go in a different direction. And the thing that keeps you from wanting to stop digging is all that time that you spent digging the hole so far, right? So I've already talked about that. If you're digging the hole 10 feet deep, you're like, let me just dig 2 more inches. Like, no, you already have a lot of room that you need to close. So stop digging. Stop doing this last ditch effort where you say you're gonna have one more indulgence, and you're gonna turn your life around tomorrow. Like, no, today. Don't say you're gonna go to the gym tomorrow. Go to the gym today. Don't say that you're gonna start working on your craft tomorrow. Do it today. Don't say you're gonna change tomorrow. Decide you're gonna change today. Don't have a celebration where you indulge in all your shitty habits for one last day. No, cut it out right now as best you can. And then the last, the process of change, of getting your entire life together, it's not gonna happen overnight, right? You have to find whatever area of your life that you can gain some level of control over, so that you can let that positive momentum spill into other things, right? So, a lot of productivity experts refer to something as the keystone habit, right? Your keystone habit is the one habit you can focus on building, so that once you build that, the momentum and discipline will go into other areas. You have to figure out, this takes a level of self-awareness. You have to lower the bar to an extent that you can manage whatever it is you're trying to get control over. So there's people like Jordan Peterson and Admiral William H. McRaven, who came up with very, very, very simple mechanisms for certain people to get their lives in order. So Jordan Peterson's piece of advice was to clean your room, right? He said, even if your life is totally out of whack, you're depressed, you're doing everything wrong, nothing's working, the least you have enough power to clean your room, right? And that can be your central piece to changing your life. And a lot of people who have followed him took that advice, something very simple, of just getting their room clean, of just having one area of their home in order, and they used that as a catalyst to change their whole life. They found something that they could take control of and then have pride in being good at. William H. McRaven, his piece of advice was to make your bed. In the military, they are very keen on doing things like that, on organization, little things like that, because they realize there is a line that goes all the way from making sure your bed is made in the barracks to being a disciplined and reliable fighter on the battlefield, right? So small things lead to bigger snowballs of momentum in the future. So you have to figure out what area of your life can you start to take control over. Maybe you need to set the bar as low as cleaning your room. Maybe it could be something, with your health. Maybe you're doing 50 push-ups a day. Maybe you're doing push-ups in between commercials, right? Whatever area of your life you can get control over. You do not try to overhaul your entire life at once. I didn't try to overhaul my entire life at once. For me, what I did, I took a self-improvement program that lasted 67 days, and it was like one video a day. So I would watch one video a day, I would take notes on the video, and I would congratulate myself, pat myself on the back, overly enthusiastically congratulate myself for watching that one video. That was my one thing that I was going to focus on, and I finished the program. I did one step every single day, and then by the end of it, I had a new outlook, and it started spilling into other areas. Shortly after that, I discovered writing and that habit. So since I was prepared and since I had one area of my life, my mindset under control, I was able to do other things, and then all of a sudden it snowballed. I went from being broke, depressed, not doing things that I loved, to having a stronger mindset, to finding my passion, to getting a better career, to making more money, to having better health. So it takes some time, but find one area to have some level of control over, and you could use that as the seed to change the rest of your life. Your next first step could be grabbing a copy of A Real Help and Honest Guide to Self-Improvement. Read the reviews on Amazon. Go check that out in the description on YouTube, in the link in bio on Instagram. Read the reviews. People are telling you that this is a very, very, very powerful book. Make sure you check that out. If you're on YouTube, check out all the items in the description, from freebies to give away, different websites, articles, all that stuff. Make sure to check all that out. Enjoyed shooting this video, and I will see you on the next one.